Hi, this is Charlie Mato-Toyela from Blue Bear Flutes, and today, just a quick little video, I wanted to show you how to do something that I believe many of you have on your mind. A lot of people have asked us, why is it do you have so much success in preserving bamboo and river cane and stuff like that? We have been protecting our river cane and back in the day when I used to use bamboo, and today we use sawgrass a lot, with beeswax, and it is very, very efficient at what it does. We use a few other products sometimes to coat them, but I wanted to show you why it is that it works, and it may help you figure out what you need to do to protect and store your bamboo or river cane if you're making flutes. So to give you an example, I'd like to start off by showing you something we bought from the grocery store. If you notice, this is a bunch of bananas, and on the top of the bunch of bananas they have like a tape that they've used to seal everything up so that it doesn't leak. The reason being is that nature, or whatever you believe in, that created these bananas, the bananas' pores are very normally closed on the outside. This helps keep the moisture of the banana inside of the banana so that, unsuspecting animals say, hey, I want to eat that thing, and they go and get it, eat it, seeds go somewhere. Anyway, the circle of life. But the reason that people have decided to start putting something sealing these up here, which I've seen them that have been dipped in wax, that have been taped like this, and just yesterday or today I think it was, my youngest boy had learned that if you wrap it in aluminum foil or something, it keeps them fresh and ripe for a long time to come. So the reason that works is there are only a couple of places on the banana that moisture from inside of it can escape. Some of it is here where the flower used to be. Bananas are some type of orchid, I believe, if I remember right. But they grew from a flower. I've raised them before. We have them growing right now. But they grew out of the flower, popped out first, and then the banana forms. Eventually the pieces of the flower fall off, and it stays connected, to the plant. And people come along and they cut the bunch down, and then they'll trim it up into the shape. Usually they'll put 5 or 6 bananas on a little bunch. And when they do that, these areas up here that they've cut leak moisture out. And as they leak moisture out and air back in to the banana, it causes it to go bad. Eventually it'll shrivel up around the stem up here, and that's the banana's way of trying to stop it from happening any further. But at that point, bananas start ripening even faster from that, and there we have it. So sealing this off was an idea that somebody had, and said, hey, this will make my bananas last forever. Coincidentally, we do something very similar with our sawgrass, our river cane, and from the occasional piece of bamboo that we use upon request. The area up here of the sawgrass, or other pieces of material likewise, is where we have cut it. And because we've cut it, it no longer has this shiny protective layer just like the banana does on the outside. It is all open pores. Because this area here goes to where your mouth is, I don't like to put things on it that are harmful or dangerous or could cause any kind of problem to anybody. So we use our mixture of beeswax and sunflower oil, tea tree oil, and peppermint oil. You can use just beeswax, and lots of people in the woodworking industry know this because a lot of them sell chunks of wood that have been sealed on the ends with beeswax, and some of them sell the whole piece of wood that's been dipped into a vat of wax so that it doesn't leak moisture out and crack. If you take this end and dip it into a vat of beeswax, shake off the excess, let it cool, you have just sealed that entire end. You can even wipe that away, and the pores on the end of the flute are still sealed. We do this, and the way that we like to do it is we'll come back and wipe this area here down with it as well. However, since this piece of the flute is not something that you have to put around your mouth, a lot of times we'll use super glue there, and I'll show you how we do that. But you can come back and seal the bottom of it by hand. However, it is much more efficient if you dip it in some hot wax, because then the wax is sure to penetrate through all the pores, at least a little distance as far as it can, and seal them up. And they're shiny now on the end, which is really great. I don't know if you can see that. I always like to make this 3D. Anyway, in case any of you are out there wearing 3D glasses and tinfoil hats. But if you do that, it actually protects the flute and keeps it from cracking. And process we've been using for a long time. One thing that you want to be aware of, and that is these little pieces of river cane or bamboo especially is bad about it. that just kind of break off like that. If this piece was not going to be worked today, what I would do is I would go ahead and dip it in the wax, and it would seal all that up. But if you're going to work it, you need to know that this area here is going to leak moisture and humidity out of the inside of the river cane, and it's going to cause some of the microfiber structure inside of the river cane to become dry and brittle, and they're going to go like that. And yeah, they make that sound, but it's just like this big. So when it does that, the flute tends to crack. As soon as it collects enough of them together, it'll crack. A lot of you may say, well, I've seen the flute crack down here instead of up there. When it's open on the end, it can crack anywhere. If there is an abrasion over here, if there is a hole where a bug was, if there is, like this node has some place that's natural for it to release a small amount of moisture, and the way we fix that is we take our oil, same mixture that's in the beeswax, and do that number to it, and then we have several cloths around the shop, rotate these suckers out like crazy, that have wax just all over them, because this is what we use. You can see some of the wax on this one, and then we wipe the entire flute down with that wax. So if you use like an oil base or a water based lacquer, what you're doing is basically you're covering the pores up with that and sealing it. And some people go back and put 2 or 3 or 4 coats and 6 coats depending on what type they're using. But over time, just like the wax will rub off, the lacquer will rub off, and it'll crack, it'll break, it does everything, you know, pretty much the same way, except for when it comes off, most people won't go back and respray it or re-dip it or paint it with a lacquer or what have you. With the oil, it's very natural, it's very simple, and you can go and wax and wipe it down and wax and wipe it down and everything, and it seals the pores up. Later on, you need to come back and put some more wax on. There's nothing to it. You don't have to worry about whether it's the same brand of wax or if it's affected in the same way. But these little pores up here where the frayed pieces that were cut, you don't want to leave that. You want to cut that off. If cutting it causes it to fray even more, then you want to sand it off. And once you get it sanded, then it's best to use something natural. Like I say, I just dip it in this wax solution we use, and you'll see it's starting to solidify already. You can let it solidify, or you can wipe it off, whatever is best for you. If you leave, the more of it leaves on there, the less likely it is to crack later on down the road. But sealing it like that, you can store this stuff nearly indefinitely. Here's a place on the node where there was a limb that was either about to grow or that was growing, and if you have a little rag that you can dip down in this hot molten wax, you don't want to burn yourself. You can come back and wipe it on there. I need a sign hanging up in the shop, no accidents since yesterday. Anyway, so be very careful if you work with anything that's molten or hot, you know, hot waxes, hot. So anyway, you're going to try to seal some of this up here, and then you're good. Like I mentioned, we do use other materials sometimes. If you look too, I believe you can probably see this, if our camera person can tell me if you see the grain in there pretty good. That's all where I've sanded this area right here. We've augered this down to make our flat area for the track of the flute, and then we've sanded this piece here, and when you sand it, you open up even more pores, and those pores, you can see the grain inside of this piece of river cane. Bamboo and sawgrass are very similar. Sawgrass is the one with the major differences inside. However, the hard part of it has a grain like this, and bamboo is just like this. But what you're going to do on an area that you're not going to put your mouth, or at least what I like to do, a little bit of crazy glue or super glue. Now this stuff here is harder and more durable than lacquer. It's also more viscous than a lot of your lacquers, in that the chemical reaction that takes place when super glue hits anything made out of carbon, where it has lots of fiber with lots of oxygen inside of it, the chemical reaction causes it to want to suck even further inside of it. So it has a capillary action, and unlike the lacquer, once this stuff starts, it keeps going as far as it can before it stops. So a lot of the fibers inside of this piece of river cane here are actually hardening up inside. I think you can see that pretty good there. But they're hardening up inside in a way that the lacquer wouldn't even do. So this is good. This is going to be sealed off. As soon as that dries, we can sand it and work it, and it won't look anything like it's got super glue shiny on top of it. We do this with all of our river cane flutes once we make them and get this area here made. And we'll do that to keep it from having a problem from then on. One other good thing, once you create the sound hole inside of the piece of river cane, sawgrass, bamboo, it's a good idea to put some glue like right on the edge here. I'm going to show you a little bit of this sand acrylate. Let some of it go inside and outside. Let it seal up, and once it does, you can sand it lightly, which will take that shiny super glue look away from it, or almost has kind of a lacquered look. But you take that away, and then it's just natural looking finish. You can go back and oil and wax it, and you're set. The oil and wax doesn't affect super glue as much as it does lacquer. If it's a water-based lacquer and you put oil or wax on it, the water-based lacquer will tend to flake off and crack and have even more problems if you do that on top of lacquer. If you use an oil base, it takes a longer time. It'll still do it, but it takes a longer time for the oil or wax to affect oil-based lacquer in the same way. That's why I like to stick with natural stuff. That's why we use the wax for everything. Even after having sanded the inside of this piece of sawgrass here with sandpaper like that, and then coming back and waxing it as I did, it feels so much smoother. It smells good too. So anyway, I hope this helps a lot of you that have asked the question, how can I store bamboo or river cane? Wipe it down in oil, wipe it down in some wax. You can't dip a whole piece of bamboo into a vat of wax unless you've got a really big vat of wax. And it's not completely necessary. If you just wipe it down really thoroughly, you can store that stuff for a long time. If you store it inside of a container, not completely sealed because you want it to breathe a little bit, but if you seal it in something like a paper bag or a plastic bag's okay as long as you leave an end open kind of thing. Anything like that, keep all of it stacked together, helps to keep the humidity similar. Any of that kind of stuff will help preserve and protect it from now on. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions further, please feel free to message us. Ask us on YouTube, ask us on our Blue Bear Flutes or Blue Bear Arts Facebook. We also have Blue Bear Flutes Instagram. You can find us just about anywhere. We even have Blue Bear Flutes Snapchat, so yes, we're up on the latest craze. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much again for watching, and Charlie Mato-Toyela for Blue Bear Flutes signing out. You guys have a happy time making and playing flutes.